जो भी तू कहे तू सुने, क्यों है बेवजह सीधे रास्ते हैं मगर फिर भी मानना।
All right, so the good people over the internet, today we have with us Varun Rajput himself from Antariksh and also Parikrama. So a warm welcome to you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time out to do this. If you would like to say anything, you may go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you for reaching out and thank you for having me on this, man. Just a pleasure. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, that means a lot. So right off the bat, I asked this question to probably every artist, and probably artists are fired on me for asking this. Take us through your entire childhood journey of developing a certain developing a certain sense in music, or like were you born into a musical family? Were your family in the form of arts and stuff? And how did you grow up? What was your entire connection with music through the years?
Right, right. And so I think what I remember from my childhood is that my parents my dad especially was really fond of listening to a lot of music, and he would have this huge collection of like musics of all sorts, right from old Bollywood music to some semi-classical, some really hardcore classical stuff, Bhimsen Joshi to Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, and obviously the the usual Lata Kishore, Rafi. So that was pretty much all the music background that we had. Just that dad was really fond of listening to music, and every week or so he'd get a new cassette, which would basically be full of new music recorded from someplace, and that was it. I was mostly into all my childhood was mostly into sports, honestly. I spent all my time playing cricket and hockey, and was fairly okay at studies as well. So that was pretty much it, man. Until very late, let's say in about 8th or 9th, I discovered some rock music and some pop music, and the likes of Michael Nasrallah, Bryan Adams, and that's when my interest in music started growing quite a lot. Then I ventured into a little bit of ghazals side, a lot of Sufi music. I remember at one point in time, at home we used to have about 43 cassettes of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
Oh my God!
This was probably back in '98, and everything that was ever released. So me, my dad, my uncle, we were all huge fans. I was still a kid, but that was about it. I didn't pick up playing any instrument until I was 19. Until I had
so we're a late starter.
So I am for sure. तो हाँ यार, वो मतलब स्कूल का टाइम वाज ओनली खेलना एंड पढ़ना, आई गेस.
मेरा उल्टा था, मेरा सिर्फ खेलना था, पढ़ना थोड़ा. Who likes to do problem sums for 3 hours, man? That's piece of shit. Come on. Like, were you like born into like any of your family members are singers or songwriters or musicians themselves?
So my bua happened to be a music teacher, and that was the closest anyone was to being associated with music. My father dabbled around. He tried to play the flute a bit. He would play a little bit of tabla, but just as a hobby. Just there was no like music. No one was pursuing music professionally, so to say. My sister also had a bit of talent for singing, so dad spotted that, and she was the one who actually was taking lessons. She started learning Hindustani classical, uh, I think in a class fifth or sixth. However, I was just, a fond listener more than anything else.
Wow, oh, pretty interesting. Do you remember the first song you heard, or the first piece of music you heard, and what was your reaction? Like, this sounds interesting. For example, I remember when I first heard some metal stuff, Lamb of God and all of that. I was like, that's gonna slam. I'm gonna rip my head. I'm gonna headbang and rip off my entire shoulder. So, what was your experience in that?
So now how the journey happened was, as I mentioned, right? Eighth, ninth is when I got discovered to more pop and soft rock kind of music. And by the time I got to, let's say, 11th or 12th, I got introduced to the Guns N' Roses and the Iron Maiden and the Metallicas,
Oh
Megadeths of
yes.
the world. And I was like, holy shit, that is something. And I distinctly remember this was probably I had just graduated from school, and this was the first ever concert I went to. There used to be this concert called the Great Indian Rock.
Oh, the Great Indian
Uh,
Rock.
yeah, and I really wanted to go there. I had no friends who were into rock music. So I literally was, like pleading and asking my friends, "Ki, yaar, koi to chalo," and almost like dragging some of them. Ke, chalo. So, so it happened. One of my friends agreed, and uh, I reached the concert, and it was just about to close. So it was only 20
Oh,
more minutes to go, and that was the first experience I had seeing any concert whatsoever. And there was this sea of people, and I saw the vocalist do a stage dive, floating on the
the
hands
entire
and heads.
ambience is just
Oh
beyond.
man! And it was like some really kick-ass metal music playing, and I was blown away. I was like, यार किसी ना किसी दिन तो ये करना है.
Oh yes. So
So
you by the bug from that time.
that was probably the beginning. उसके बाद पहली बारी मन किया कि चलो यार कुछ गिटार सीखें या कुछ कुछ शुरू करें. So that's when I like just picked up the acoustic guitar, and वो भी होता था कि मतलब उस समय I was preparing for my engineering entrances. So my dad was like, once get through the exams and then we'll buy you a guitar. So I remember,
Typical
uh,
Indian families.
yeah, I guess. um, तो मेरे को याद है कि I would go to a friend's place and just try and play a little bit whatever I could, and I realized that I had some sense of melody and some basic sense. तो मैं उसका गिटार उठा के ले आया और I would hide it in my almirah. So
Oh,
and then I would play it during the day and then hide it back again in the evening. So that went on for about a month or so. And this was only because my exams were really close, and of course we got done with the exams, and that dad got me my first guitar. But that was it. That was it. So फिर तो one step led to another, and kept meeting people, kept discovering a lot of new music, and फिर तो धीरे धीरे develop होता रहा. So that was pretty much the early part of the journey.
wow, inspiring. Like the guitar was the first instrument you picked up to learn.
Actually, to learn, yes, but to play, not really. So I would play a little bit of tabla in school. I would play a little bit of what they used to call the metallophone, and later on I realized it's called the xylophone. तो वो music class में थोड़ा बहुत I'll play that. I would play a bit of harmonica, just like a little bit. I realized that I had some basic sense. Sixth class में पहली बारी guitar class join करी थी school में, and I hated it so much that I left,
Oh,
only to know like 6-7 years later that would end up becoming my primary instrument. So life is funny that way.
interesting. And honestly, man, the schools we used to go to, the music classes over there were pretty shitty. Like I remember we had this one music teacher in our school. What she used to do was, make everyone sit, and she wanted everyone to sing things. So she was a vocal
Mhm.
teacher. She wanted everyone, like we were kids. We were probably in seventh or eighth grade, right? We were learning how to do algebra, and she's here teaching us classical. So she makes sure, like she like absolutely she had a like reform that I would sing something and you have to replicate that exactly same. If not, she'll
Mhm.
punish you. And I'm like, what? Like speechless. I'm what to say. I'm like, come on, man. So yeah,
I know
that
what
was
you
pretty.
mean. That it's really funny when you speak of that. Today, in fact, I some just kind of stumbled upon one of my music teacher's profile on Facebook, and that brought back like all the bloody memories of school. And उस समय पिटाई होती थी, वो डंडा मारते थे पैर के
Oh my
नीचे.
god, yes. Under
and
the
uh,
carbs.
and yeah, and like I was like, music class में ऐसे डंडा पड़ना was like, when I think of it today, it was really odd.
Exactly.
Like why would you do that to someone? So it was a little odd. uh, yeah, I don't think कि school में at least मेरे लिए भी कुछ music classes से कुछ भी ऐसा कुछ interesting निकला, या it brought any kind of inclination for me to uh, be more passionate towards music, or develop some sort of interest in it. तो हाँ, स्कूल में कुछ म्यूजिक जर्नी था ऑल्सो. मतलब उस समय मेरे को सिर्फ खेलने का शौक था. आई यूज्ड टू प्ले हॉकी, एंड दैट
Oh.
वाज ऑल आई केयर्ड अबाउट. तो या, those
So
were
from very childhood you were
different
like
times.
actively into sports and all that stuff.
I was, yeah.
Oh, we kind of have a similar story, except that you were okay in studies and I was terrible at studies. Um,
That's fine, man. I mean, studies are fine. Yeah, they can take you at one place, but it's
after
not
that,
the end of the world.
yep, for sure. Um, when did you think of making music a career for yourself?
So, I was lucky enough to, I got through a good engineering college. And uske baad, the only dream I had after seeing that concert, especially, was to form a band. And so I had a friend, who used to study with me at my coaching. He made it to IIT. I was at DTU, formerly DCE. So we got together, and we found a bunch of really cool people at IIT Delhi, and we ended up forming a band. तो मेरे को अभी गिटार उठाए, इलेक्ट्रिक गिटार खरीदे 2-3 महीना ही हुए थे, और हम लोगों ने बैंड फॉर्म कर लिया. वी जस्ट स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग अ फ्यू कॉम्पिटिशंस हियर एंड देयर, स्टार्टेड राइटिंग सम म्यूजिक, एंड that's when I realized that I was really passionate about it. So I would practice like for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and I would not feel like it was
Practice हो रहा
work
है.
or anything. हाँ, प्रैक्टिस हो रहा है, बस करे जा रहे हो, बड़े आ रहे हो, सीखे जा रहे हो, मजा आ रहा है,
Fun. Huh?
फन जैम कर रहे हो, इट्स अ न्यू वर्ल्ड. So during my college years, that band actually, after about a year, started doing really well. We won a lot of competitions, and obviously वाहवाही भी मिलती है, those little moments of
Accolades.
adulation. Yeah, just so I started enjoying. I was like, I really enjoy this. And then I धीरे धीरे started dabbling a little bit with recording and production and mixing. And तब लगा कि यार, मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा, this is something that I really enjoy and would love to probably pursue full time one day. But उस समय पे तो I had no courage, honestly. I was probably in third, fourth year of my college, or kind of thinking that next thing would obviously be taking up a job. And most of my band members, they were at IIT, and they were 1 year senior to me.
Oh.
So when I was in third, when I got to the fourth year, they had graduated out of college and all started working. So the band obviously kind of fell apart. Everyone was in a different city, and so did my dreams of kind of continuing with the band. And I thought कि चलो यार, लाइफ में वापस आना पड़ेगा, काम धाम पे लगना पड़ेगा, because
बहुत सपना देख
म्यूजिक
लिया.
से तो हाँ म्यूजिक से नहीं होने वाला. ऑनेस्टली यू नो लाइक बैक देन इतना अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं थे. 2009-10 की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं.
Just the
8-9.
advent of internet is happening and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, there was music. There was a lot of rock music, metal music, but very niche and very tiny segments. You couldn't live off doing that. Obviously, you could, but one in probably 1,000 would be able to do that. So that was it. And then I, went into the corporate world. I started working. I spent about 3 years doing that. और फिर जब वो 3 साल कर दिया, and I kind of started feeling कि I was really missing playing music, and I kind of did well in my corporate world as well. So उसके बाद confidence आया कि यार एक बार करके तो देखते हैं. Let's take a leap of faith. Let's just try and kind of jump and see what happens. Worst case worst, it won't work out, and 6 महीने साल बाद वापस आ जाएंगे. We can always get back to work. So वो 2-3 साल काम करने के बाद जो confidence आया, that kind of allowed me to do this. So this was in 2012, and that's about it, यार. फिर तो one thing led to the another, and luckily, fortunately, I'm still doing this.
Yep. That's inspiration. Like when you thought of, so you worked a job for 3.5 years before coming to music, taking up music full time, right? So what was your state of brain or mind at that point of time when you were thinking, "Yup, shift karna hai, like do or die"? So how did you go through that phase? Like, did you sit down with a pen and paper and thought, like, okay, I'll do that, but we just can't do it out of air. Like, you need certain systems and processes and certain stuff, right? So take us through that, like that stuff.
So so it happened that one of my former bandmates, Mridul Ganesh, who used to play with in my first band Feedback, who was also at IIT. So it happened that both he and I were in kind of a similar space, and both of us had quit our jobs. Or we'd been wanting to do something very different. हम लोग we were exploring a few startup ideas. तो हमने सोचा चलो यार मिलते हैं वापस से कुछ स्टार्टअप करते हैं, एंड साथ साथ में थोड़ा बहुत म्यूजिक कर लेंगे. So that's how it started in 2012, and we were exploring a few ideas. We were working a little bit, and साथ में थोड़ा बहुत we had this dream of writing an album. So we just started working, just casually jamming on a few songs कि चलो कोई नहीं 2-3 गाने रिकॉर्ड करते हैं, देखते हैं. As we started doing that, that passion that I had for music kind of again, I realized that how much I used to enjoy doing this, and how much I was enjoying at that point in time. And once again, I started pushing Mridul कि चलो यार एक बार ही कोशिश करते हैं ना, वरना हमेशा रोते रहते हैं कि यार म्यूजिक करना है बट कर नहीं पाते, एंड फिर फिर अगेन लाइक काश ये करते. तो एक बार करके देख लेते हैं ना क्या हो जाएगा. So we both kind of had a pact कि okay, let's do this for 6 months, and let's just do this. We kept everything else aside. देखते हैं 6 महीने पूरी जान लगा के करेंगे क्या होता है. If things work out तो सही है, if they don't then it's okay. So that's how we started, and then we started writing our first album, which turned out to be Khoj. So वो करना शुरू किया. Over those 6 months there were a lot of realizations. I started realizing that I was genuinely enjoying the process of writing, recording, composing, mixing, then marketing the music, trying to get gigs, the entire world of music. And Mridul kind of realized that it was not his cup of tea. So he felt that if music was kind of became work, then it lost the meaning for him. तो हम दोनों के लिए बहुत ही opposite realizations हुए. And he's been like one of my best friends, and he's been like probably one of my biggest inspirations when it came to guitar playing. I really looked up to him. So it was like a setback for me. Oh shit, he wouldn't want to continue.
So he kind of makes sure that music stays as a passion for you.
Yeah, he enjoyed it as a hobby, as a passion, but not as work. Because once it becomes work, then it can
Yeah.
lose the meaning for a lot of people.
मतलब if
And
you talk it in देसी language, like कोई भी काम पैसे के लिए कर रहे हो तो वो कुछ टाइम बाद बोरिंग हो जाएगा.
यार बेसिकली कोई भी काम काम बन जाता है, एंड द वे वी लुक एट वर्क इज के देन it starts to feel like, you know, work or something that
Like
you
again I
don't
have to
want to
do
do or
it.
escape. Yeah, yeah. So that was it, and so he decided कि यार he would want to probably move back to the US at some point in time, and that was about it. So we spent a couple of years. We did a little bit of music. We tried to get a few gigs. Album निकाला 2013 में, और but 14 में जाके, you know, मृदुल left for the US, and I was again in a weird state कि यार अब क्या करें. If we get another singer, तो कौन होगा, कैसे मिलेगा, कहाँ होगा, how will it work out, you know, how will the identity of the band change, and all those things. So luckily we found a young kid. You know, I was judging a competition and we found this guy who was really good. We asked him if he'd be interested, so he came on board, and somehow, you know, the world of Antariksh continued. We had another guy singing for us. Mridul went back to the US in 2014 to do his MBA, and so that was it. Yeah, so that's how, you know, that's all the planning there was to answer your question. कि बस उतना सोचा था कि 6 महीने जान लगा के करेंगे और फिर देखेंगे क्या होता है.
And it worked out.
Yeah, I think so. I would like to think so, luckily.
Um, do you remember, like, okay, so take us through the advent and the who came up with the idea of Antariksh as a name? So before you were writing the album, where you like you thought about the name first, or you just like, let's start a project and we'll name it something?
So you know, when we started writing songs, so Mridul and I, we also had this common friend GT Gurtej, who was also in a very similar space in life. He used to play for Pastorica back in the day and was wanting to come back to music. So he also joined. So Mridul, GT, and I kind of got together, and we did start thinking about कि क्या नाम रखा जाए. So we went through a bunch of names, and you know, some were really silly, some were very serious. We were all kind of very, you know, kind of serious, introspective people. So हमारे बहुत ही ज़्यादा heavy names आ रहे थे. Like यार ये तो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. Some names were really silly, so those were also not working. And then Antariksh was kind of one of the names.
Give us one or two examples of the silly names you got.
यार एक तो था कुछ the chai party. So we all loved chai, and we were like the
a new political party.
Yeah, why not? And then, you know, later on, वैसे इतना बुरा नहीं था, because कुछ साल बाद we heard this band When Chai Met Toast, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's such a cool name, and so I think any name can become cool if, you know, done, if used well, I guess. So Antariksh was one of the names which I felt we kind of resonated with. And I kind of put my foot down कि चलो यार हो गया, और time नहीं waste करेंगे. So let's just, you know, we booked the website, we blocked the Facebook page, and this and that, and that's it.
Invited 100 friends, like कर दो यार.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
हाँ ये हम लोग सब करते हैं यार. 30 लाइक हो गए आज तो.
वहीं से शुरुआत होती है. बिल्कुल.
Exactly. Wow, pretty amazing. Do you remember getting your first gig as Antariksh?
We actually do. So अभी कुछ ही महीने हुए थे. It had been about 6-7 months, and बहुत मुश्किल हो रही थी gigs मिलने की. But luckily, you know, we found this guy who helped us source this gig at a really cool venue which used to be there back in Delhi, called the Blue Frog. अब तो खैर बंद हो गया. And yeah, so this friend of mine, Rahul, he was also the manager of Baiju.
Baiju.
Back then. So you know, we did an opening act for Baiju, and that happened to be kind of our first gig at a really cool venue, and you know, it was really fun.
What was
with
your
the
reaction when
album.
you thought that, okay, when you heard that, okay, you have to open for Baiju and you have to have, what was your reaction?
It was amazing, man. We were coming back to music after almost like 3-4 years, and we hadn't played a gig in I think 3 years. So it was amazing, and we'd all looked up to Baiju all these years. We used to see him with Mother Jane at all the fests, and what a what an inspiring guitar player he is. So it was amazing just to know that we'll be opening for him, and we'll probably get to see him play. So that was really interesting. मजा आया था बहुत. In fact, that also kind of led to collaboration between us and Baiju later, where he played a solo on one of our songs on our album Coach. So, yeah.
Well, that's inspiring. So your first full-length album was Coach from Antariksh, right?
Mhm.
Take us through the process of writing that and the songs in that, like beautiful songs.
Thank you. Thank you. The process was fairly organic, yeah. So, when we just started, decided upon the idea of, giving this a shot. So Mridulai and GT would get together at, one of our places, and we'd just sit and jam on the acoustic guitars, write a few melodies. And the first song we ever wrote was Dheere Dheere. Then we wrote Tum and Na Jaane Kyun. That was it. After those three songs, we started rehearsing. We started going back to the jam rooms. So anyone who would come up with who would have an idea would just kind of record a demo and send it to the others, and then we'd meet at the jam room or at one of our places and just kind of sit and rehearse and develop the parts organically. So fairly organic, I would say. Just sharing ideas and jamming. So we spent about 6 to 8 months writing all the 10, 11 songs, writing, recording, and producing. I think it was pretty quick because we had nothing else to do. Shows तो मिल नहीं रहे थे. So shows के लिए fight
album
मारते
बना
रहते.
लेते.
हाँ, तो यही सोचा था कि शुरू में 2-3 गाने बनाए, बहुत अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स मिला. सो पहले गाने पे ही धीरे धीरे पे बहुत ही अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स मिला. एंड इट गॉट माय स्पिरिट्स रियली हाई कि ओ वाओ ओके. उससे पहले हम लोग वी ऑल यूज्ड टू प्ले prog rock and metal and all that kind of music in our previous bands, and this was the first time we were dabbling with something in Hindi.
Yeah.
तो हमें था यार देखते हैं कि इसमें कुछ स्पेस है कि नहीं है, trying to bring some western sounds to Hindi music, and if there is an audience for
Amalgamation.
that. Yeah, well, basically amalgamation, fusing different styles and the usual. So we tried to do that and got a really good response. Then I thought we'll get gigs, but कोई show नहीं मिला. I would constantly write emails to people introducing कि this is who we are, this is our past experience.
Give us show, please.
Yeah, really. And मिलता ही नहीं था because obviously we were a new name, right? No one knew about us at that time, and it takes a while for a brand to develop.
Yep.
For someone to trust you and call you. तो नहीं मिलता, तो हमने सोचा चलो एल्बम लिखते हैं. Maybe once we have the credibility of an album, कि यार
you have something to show as a portfolio.
Yeah, an album used to be a big thing back then. मतलब कि
still it is.
Still it is. It would mean that you're serious about it, right? You're not just putting out a song or two and seeing where it goes. So इसलिए हमने बैठ के पूरा album लिखा, and obviously also it was our dream since many years to have a full length album released. So yeah, that was pretty much how Coach happened from I think September 2012 to May or June 2013. And September 2013 we ended up releasing it. So it's almost been 9 years.
So writing, composing, production, post-production, and shooting some music videos for some songs. All of that took nearly 1.5 years before the release.
Probably lesser. I would say about 8 to 10 months.
So you guys were like all in the studio, like your beds were in the studio.
We all had home studios, yeah. So most of the drum, we were programming drums. Most of the guitar recording, drums, programming, bass playing, Keys and all would be recorded at either my home studio or Vidul's home studio, and then we would take all of that to Quarter Note Studios, which is run by Gaurav Chintamani, and we would record the vocals and acoustic guitar there, and then the mixing would happen there. So that was it. We were either in the jam rooms or at one of our studios or Quarter Note. Yeah, a lot of fun, I guess. There were no distractions because we didn't have any gigs to play, so it was not like we had to prepare for something. Nothing else was happening, so which is why I felt the process was really quick and focused.
That's a good pastime you utilized actually. कोई काम नहीं चला album लिखते. Wow, pretty interesting. When did actually Antariksh started to take off? And take us through the pivots and joints you had while going through building Antariksh as a brand, as a music, like marketing it to a certain level, and probably when like you are right now probably a single man running Antariksh, and you hire such a musician. So take us through that journey as well. It's like really interesting.
Right, man. So, when Mridul had actually decided that he wanted to go back to the US, and we got this new singer on board. So, just about, so 2014, तब तक कुछ नहीं हुआ था. Coach had come out in September 2013, and we thought कि अब कुछ होगा, gigs मिलेंगे, and then 3-4 months passed, probably. Yeah, 4 months passed and nothing happened.
Do you remember how many views you had?
I wouldn't say not too many यार. अब तो ऐसे याद तो नहीं होगा, but धीरे धीरे के वीडियो पे 10-15,000 20,000 व्यूज होंगे, and बाकी सब पे ऐसे ही 5,000 7,000 कुछ, something like that. And views and all उतना matter नहीं करता था उस समय, because there was no revenue in that. The only money you would make would be by playing gigs, or gigs मिल नहीं रहे थे. Savings had dried up because obviously we'd invested a lot in the album. I think we'd burnt a bunch of discs also. CDs बनाए थे बहुत सारे, with some really cool CD jackets and booklets and all that. But पैसा नहीं है उस सब में, so पैसा gigs में ही था, and so that was not happening. So 2014, I was kind of a little disheartened. I felt कि यार Mridul is going back. We have a new guy coming in. Nothing is working out. Now what do I do? So one of my friends was working on a tech startup, and then we kind of spoke about it, and I also got the idea, okay, why don't we do this? So I joined him, and we spent about a year on this tech startup, while Antariksh was put on the back burner. So 2014, I thought कि चलो यार अब इसको चलने देते हैं, साइड में देखते हैं क्या होता है. If something happens or nothing happens, but I obviously wanted, I needed money, and then also wanted to do something on the creative side, on the other side that I really enjoyed. So I got into that startup. As luck would have it, जैसे ही वो शुरू किया, इधर से अंतरिक्ष को gigs आने लग गए. So suddenly, out of nowhere, we started getting calls, and a college gig, another gig, and suddenly we realized, oh, we played 4 gigs in a month.
Wow.
And that happened again in the next month, and then dhire, every month we would get like 3, 4, 5 gigs, and now I didn't know what to do, because this was what I always wanted, and
now it's happening.
And now it's happening. And at the same time, I am invested in a startup where I am kind of one of the co-founding members. So it's not even like मैं boss को बोल के निकल जाऊँ, because so I would end up spending like good 10 hours at working in the office, and then come back and work for another 4-5 hours for Antariksh. And every day would be like a 14-hour day. So that happened for about a year. And at one point, ऐसा हो गया कि we started getting outstation gigs. And it became really difficult to kind of have the balance. So, I always talk about this. I think of it as gestation period, right? Whenever you kind of build something, it takes a while for it to mature. So the band that we were trying to build for those 2 years और कुछ नहीं हो रहा था, वो समय लगता है होने में. So that was a big learning for me कि we have to be really patient.
It's
And
like a sapling. It needs to grow.
it takes time. We all want it obviously right now,
नहीं होता
here
है
and
वैसा.
then, but वो नहीं होता. तो वो बहुत बड़ी learning थी कि you have to be patient and persistent, and
Keep working
just
and working
focused.
and working.
Right. So unfortunately, the startup kind of got shut about a year later. And तब भी I was not comfortable enough कि I could still continue with Antariksh full time. I was looking at, then I started looking at other job opportunities. I was applying for a bunch of interviews. I, in fact, went and gave a bunch of interviews at a few other corporates. And I thought, it's great. I'll keep this running on the side till it grows big enough. But again, yaar, wohi kismat, as luck would have it, I got a call from Parikrama to substitute for Saurabh.
Wow.
So he was not available for a bunch of gigs, and he was traveling. So Saurabh and I had kind of met once. We'd rehearsed for a Porcupine Tree tribute, which never happened. But that's when we got to know each other. And so मेरे को नितिन दा का call आया, and then I spoke with Saurabh, and they invited me for a couple of gigs. So which was a lot of fun, and suddenly the season kicked in, and Antariksh also got a lot of gigs. So I had about I think 30-35 gigs in 2 months.
Oh my God. Some money showering.
Money also started coming in. It started to grow. Gigs were converting well, and suddenly एक वो spark आया कि oh shit, probably it's possible to do this full time. So
And that's the biggest realization.
It is, because money gives you a lot of confidence, because at the end of the day, everyone has to pay the bills and everyone wants to have a certain standard of living, and it plays a huge role in how sustainable pursuing something like this could be if there is money, or wouldn't be if there isn't. तो फिर तो बिजी ही इतना हो गए कि the interviews वगैरह छोड़ दिया साइड में, and फिर then it got
and
really
then
busy.
the startup Antariksh started to grow.
Yeah, it did. So then the other singer that we got, Sharad, he also left. He wanted to do something of his own. Then I got another friend of mine to sing for about a year, which was Aditya Jassi. He's a very dear friend, and he was there. And unfortunately, he also had to kind of leave after a year. He had some issues at home, and he couldn't spend a lot of time traveling for gigs. So ऐसे करते करते, we dabbled with 3-4 singers, 3 singers, I guess. And then, it came to a point where, I thought, okay, I will need to take up singing for Antariksh. Yeah. So,
So
at
they
one
dabbled
point,
with 3 singers.
right. So we had like about 3 singers who came and went. And, it got to a point where I was realizing that, I was living Antariksh day in, day out, all day long. And this is the only thing I was doing. And
Like that became your job.
Yeah, you could say that. And obviously I had a certain drive and certain vision towards it, and at the same time, GT was there, and we had a drummer Vipul, who had been there for, again, these guys were there for 3-4 years, but they were kind of pursuing it with their jobs. So we started getting a lot of gigs, and unfortunately they were not getting leaves at their jobs. So it got to a point कि यार क्या करें, because this is all we wanted. We were working hard all these years to be able to live life of a musician. Obviously it hadn't become good enough that we could completely sustain on it, but there was always a lot of potential. I could see a lot of potential, a lot of growth opportunities. But I guess GT was not comfortable quitting his job and doing this full time, and Vipul was also really young and just beginning his career. So at one point in time, we kind of had to part ways, and because we needed full time musicians to do this, because it was a full time job. If you're touring, let's say 10 days in a month, how will you get leaves at your office? You can't.
Probably you'll be
So
fired the
and
next day.
yeah, I mean, no one will listen after the third time, and there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get a gig, right?
Yes,
It
yes.
it it's any musician would know that. There's writing, recording, composing, which is like the basic thing. वो तो एक product बनाना होता है, but then marketing
Marketing,
yourself, putting
PR,
those,
and all that stuff.
all of that stuff, right? How do you get there, and building those relationships and
The
finding unique,
audience, target
right?
audience.
Yeah, finding a target audience, developing a community, all those things, right? Uh, so at one point in time, people in GT kind of had to leave, and then some other session members came in. Dan came in on the drums, and Joshua came in on the keyboards, and at the same point we had another singer come in. So there were a lot of lineup changes during this period of 3-4 years, and there was not enough stability. उस स्टेबिलिटी के ना होने की वजह से क्या हो रहा था कि म्यूजिक नहीं लिख पा रहे थे. वी वर
Um,
प्लेइंग गिग्स, तो गिग्स आते थे, प्रैक्टिस में टाइम निकल जाता था. If one member is not available कोई और है, then you're teaching that person all the songs, so you're making like 3 times 4 times the effort, uh, and because gigs are important and you need to do them to make money. So वही हो जा रहा था. We were playing gigs and getting burnt out and not able to write music, and uh, it was just it was not a very good situation. Uh, so that's at that point, I realized that I will probably need to take up singing for Antariksh. And I had this realization बहुत पहले ही, and my father would always tell me that you have invested all your life into this, and you can't be dependent on how someone else feels about it or what position they are in their lives, because to be very fair, it's very difficult to find 4 or 5 people who have the same vision, same situation in life, same goals, same dreams. And even if they are same today, there's no guarantee that they'll be same probably 3 years
tomorrow.
later, right? तो आप ऐसे, अनलेस वो बहुत ही किस्मत की बात है कि कोई 2-4 लोग ऐसे मिल जाएं जो इनके साथ केमिस्ट्री भी है, सब कुछ अलाइन करता है, गोल्स, विजन, ड्रीम्स, एंड कैन डील विद ईच अदर. इट्स लाइक अ रिलेशनशिप यूर इन, राइट? तो वो बहुत मुश्किल होता है. एंड एट दैट पॉइंट आई रियलाइज कि ये मुश्किल है, बिकॉज एंड ऑल्सो देयर वाज अ ट्रेंड ऑफ एवरीवन बिकमिंग अ सेशंस प्लेयर, which is
Uh,
totally understandable because I mean, generally people are growing musically, and it's relatively easier to kind of make your ends meet if you're a session player, because you get to play with multiple bands and multiple artists, and every artist will have at least 2-3 gigs a month, so you end up playing and 10-12 gigs, you make your ends meet. But that is not something I was interested in. I genuinely wanted to write, compose, build the brand Antariksh, and do that. I had come into music to do that.
Typical
Left the,
entrepreneur.
you could say that. I mean, I was just passionate about probably doing this. It was a dream to, जब college में थे, तो we would see bands, we would, listen to a lot of rock bands, and uh, कैसे बोलोगे उसको, वो एक वैसा ही ड्रीम था कि
Yeah,
in that kind of setting
I
you
gotta
get
do
to,
something like this sometime in the future.
right. So that was about it. And at that point, my father said that, until you start singing and you learn and do that, you will always be in a crisis situation, because let's say a singer tomorrow wants to leave the band. Suddenly you have to change the entire identity. And
Exactly.
people who've seen a certain singer at a certain point, next time that person is not there, it's very awkward.
Like,
They don't
oh, that's not the
relate.
sound.
Huh, that's not the sound of the band. That's probably not the guy I saw last time. So,
नहीं सुनेंगे चलो.
hey, हाँ मतलब एक confusion create होता है. Here you are putting in so much work, and आपकी identity बारी बारी question में आई जा रही है. So, I started taking lessons. For I think about 2.5 years, I took lessons. I mean, I was always anyway singing backup vocals, and I always had a basic sense. And I would always been singing a little bit here and there, but I never thought of myself as a front man or a singer of a band. तो मैंने कहा कर लेंगे यार, सीख लेंगे, करते 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 हो जाएगा better. With time we'll get there. And I think that was one of the best decisions I took, I guess. And all thanks to my dad, because he really pushed me to do that. He could foresee, okay, that you'll keep being in a complex situation if you don't do that. So that happened. Then I found this bunch of really cool session musicians who came on board, and then we stuck together for a good long while. So Shrikant on the guitars, he's still with me. He's a wonderful guitar player. Dan was on the drums, again a fantastic drummer. Joshua came in on the keys, and Sonic was playing bass for a few years. He's an amazing bass player, very reputed bass player in Delhi. So we like some really good musicians, and I had the opportunity to work with. And that's when I decided that this is what Antariksh will be. And once the stability came back, that the progress also happened. We started writing music again, and then all the new songs came in. So we've put out like 7-8 songs after that.
7-8 singles.
7-8 singles, which will now culminate into an album. But like we were back to writing music and playing shows at the same time, and touring a lot. So yeah, you can't complain. I think happy to.
You shouldn't complain right now. Great, man. Great. Absolutely fantastic. MTV featured Antariksh as one of the best rock bands in the country, India. Take us through that. Like, at what point did that happen, and what was your reaction as a band? Like, you were a four-piece band till then.
Yeah, we were a 4-piece band. I mean, we've been from 4-piece to 6-piece. We've had multiple configurations at different points in time. And I think that kind of happened fairly early, if I'm not wrong, around 2015 or 16. MTV would have, they came up with a list of top 10 Indian rock bands, and we were kind of, featured on it. So really honored, to be on that list. It kind of, you kind of feel that, you're probably doing something right. All these years of work, are kind of
finally paying off
in some form or the other. Yeah. तो तब तक वो समझ आ गया था कि यार लगे रहो, मतलब there is no sure shot.
Just do it.
Way of success. There's no guarantee. You keep doing, you keep trying. Something will work, something will not work. Sometimes you'll feel कि यार ये गाना तो पक्का चलेगा ही चलेगा. It doesn't work. And then you feel कि ये गाना कौन सुनेगा, and that works. So you never know. You just have to keep taking your shots, I guess.
Take us to the song Quest. It featured Marty Friedman. I love Marty Friedman. Take us to that.
Yeah, man. Oh, what an amazing guy, I would say. Obviously everyone knows what an amazing guitar player, but he's an absolutely gem of a guy. Like really easygoing, really humble.
And of course a guitar god.
And of course a guitar god. वो तो सबको पता ही है. I remember
especially the right hand, man.
सही में, and his vibrato and his sense of understanding of modes and whatnot. So मेरे को याद है जब गिटार बजाना शुरू किया था, I would watch his DVD, called The Melodic Control, and हम लोग obviously सब सीखते थे उससे. So again, it was just like, I would say, a little bit of luck, a little bit of persistence. We were in the process of recording a lot of new music, which included Jile Zara, Rahia, Quest, Fana, and all these songs.
I love Fana.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So all of that was happening, and we we got to play at the NH7 Weekender in
Oh
Shillong in
yes.
2019. So we played on day one, and Marty was playing on day two.
Oh wait. Day one, Marty. Acha, Megadeth came probably.
No, so this was not with Megadeth. So Marty doesn't obviously play with Megadeth. It's almost been
And
20,
that was
20
probably
years
Kiko
now.
playing over there.
Possibly. I'm not even sure if
Okay, so
Kiko
that's
was.
2019. In what year like Steven Wilson came? Uh,
I wouldn't remember.
I also forgot. Anyway, okay, let's go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2019 Shillong, Marty was playing on day two. We were playing on day one. So we played
And
out of
what
the
was your
obviously.
excitement level? Where was it? Here.
It was it was right all there. So I and Srikanth, both are huge fans. So we were watching the show together,
And
and
sharing the
it
stage is a
was
huge honor.
yeah. I mean, it was really something. यार उस समय तो क्या डे टू पे तो हम तो ऑडियंस में खड़े होके सुन रहे थे बस मार्टी को totally awestruck. Seeing your guitar god play like that, it was just
Live.
incredible live. Right in front of your eyes, someone you've been seeing for, I don't know, 15 years. That was pretty much it. And वो बस एक थॉट आया, कई बार होता है ना उस समय कि क्वेस्ट हो रहा था एंड श्रीकांत had recorded his solo. I was yet to record my solo. I had been procrastinating. कभी टाइम नहीं मिल रहा था, कभी कुछ इंस्पिरेशन नहीं आ रही थी, मैं कहता हूँ करूंगा, तो वो डिले हो जा रहा था. एंड देन ऐसी रैंडमली थॉट आया यार, what if it would be like incredible if Marty plays on this song, because after hearing him play live, I just felt like that would be just insane. The song I thought kind of had that vibe where if he'd play, he'd take it to another level. And that was just a chota sa thought, but who would have thought? Yeah, next day on our way back to Delhi, he was on the same flight, and
Oh,
he was sitting. He
and
was
that's how
sitting
the
two
contact
seats.
happened.
That's how the contact happened. He was sitting two seats ahead of us, and he and his band, and they were sleeping throughout the flight. So हमने obviously disturb नहीं किया. And when we got down at Delhi, we thought कि we have to get a picture clicked. So we went just after deboarding the plane, we got a picture clicked, and just introduced ourselves and had a quick chat. And then बस निकल गए. उसके बाद किस्मत की बात है कि when we were collecting our luggage from the luggage belt at the airport, we bumped into Marty again. We were all waiting for our equipment to come and all our luggage to come. So we started speaking again, and suddenly I from somewhere I got this courage to ask him. I said, we have something like this, we have a song, and I told them a little bit about us, and I said, we have a song, and if there is a way we could have you play a solo on it, and it's totally okay if you can't, obviously, but I just felt that your solo would be kind of just the perfect thing to have on that song. So he was fair, very kind, and very
So what was his reply after hearing this?
So he kind of respectfully denied. He said, he doesn't do sessions, or he doesn't do a lot of sessions. And he said that he kind of wouldn't recommend doing that, because if he were to go and record at a studio in Japan, that would cost a lot. And so he said, I wouldn't recommend you do that. And obviously, yeah, he hasn't heard our music until now. Matlab, what will he say? He's a sweet guy, so he just kind of politely declined. But he still asked me to write to him and send him our music.
Oh,
I said, I would love to share some music and probably get to know what you think of it. And so I wrote to him. I sent him our music. Obviously, I was not expecting that he would probably even read it, but he's such an amazing guy. He, read the message. He heard our songs. I sent him 3 songs, I guess. He ended up listening to 5 of them, and he,
oh my
got
God.
back. That was amazing. Signs of such a humble. I don't know what words to use. Like, what an amazing personality, right? So he got back to us
On the
and he
mail.
wrote back saying on an email, and he said, he really enjoyed listening to the music, and he said, this sounded like British rock to him. So he said, I this sounds more international than Indian. That really meant a lot to me. And so I kind of had the courage to ask him once again, like, can I send you one of our songs, and will it be possible to have you play on it? And then again he said the same thing. Again he kind of respectfully declined, mentioning that it wouldn't be a great idea because uh, just generally the cost would be really high, and
Mhm.
it's a bit of a thing. So I mean, to cut the long story short, that happened. उसके बाद बस मेरी परसिस्टेंस हो गई थोड़ी. मैंने सोचा मैं गाना भेज देता हूँ. कोई बात नहीं. So I just sent in the song. I said, just sharing the song, it's okay. I mean, just in case you feel you can do something, even if you can kind of
मतलब
record
लगे
it.
रहो, मतलब बजाना ही है.
हाँ, मतलब इसको ये भी कह सकते हो कि जबरदस्ती चेप हो रहे हो, बट बट हाँ, मैं सोचा कि यार भेज देता हूँ, क्या हो जाएगा. एट बेस्ट ही विल से नो, एंड व्हिच इज ओके. मैंने गाना भेज दिया उन्हें, and I just sent him the song, and I said, just in case you feel this is a part. And he was again kind. यार मैं कोई बंदा आके ऐसे randomly तंग कर रहा है, मतलब why would you even bother? But he was
Yep.
kind enough to listen to the song, and I guess he liked the song. So when he heard the song, he's like, okay, let's do it.
Oh fuck yes. And you were falling from the
so
sky.
मैं तो अलग ही उड़ रहा था. I was like, is this really happening? I couldn't believe it. I read it a couple of times. Okay, is he? And that was it. And I guess probably he kind of associated with the song. He liked the song, and he felt he could add on to it. And so I just sent him the song, and all that. Within 2 days, I think he just played the solo and sent it back.
Oh my
And
god.
it was just insane, right?
And when you heard the solo, what was your
I was mind blown because समझ ही नहीं आया पहले तो कि oh wow, I heard it a couple of times and I was like, holy shit, that is something.
That is
And,
Marty Friedman, man.
right from the first note that he plays, you can tell it's Marty.
So, he has a unique touch and feel to the sound,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So
Wow.
that.
And then you were like, I'm the. Wow, man.
तो मतलब कुछ किस्मत की बात भी है और कुछ बस आई थिंक लगे रहने की बात भी है.
So guitar solo at the airport. Wow.
Yeah, really bizarre, right? Absolutely bizarre way to kind of something like this to happen. And fair, then we obviously did a video. We did like a which I am really proud of, a really cool animated video.
Yep.
And even Marty is animated on that.
And you sent that video to Marty?
I did, of course.
What was his reaction?
Oh, he loved it. Yeah. So we obviously kind of took permission from him before animating him. But yeah, I think he genuinely liked the song, and yeah, it was just a really humbling experience working with him. Even talking to him and exchanging kind of just ideas about this, and he was kind enough to even do a few interviews for us.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, great learning for me. That's it.
Beautiful, man, beautiful, so beautiful. You've probably toured and played, like I was reading on a website, you've probably played more than 700 fucking gigs across the world. take us through that. You've visited US, the UK, probably the London, and I don't know, man, which country haven't you haven't visited?
No. There are lots of countries to visit. Yeah, I think our most recent.
Okay. When did this abroad thing start?
Yeah. So primarily in in a large scenario, I would say in 2019, when we actually did like a 5 city tour, which was like 4 gigs in Mauritius and one in Madagascar, and that was really cool.
And Mauritius is
You
a
know,
beautiful place, man.
Mauritius is a very beautiful, like just an incredible place. So, excuse me. That was amazing. Yeah, I think that was pretty much when it started. Then we played a gig in Nepal. We played, an online gig for a bunch of people in Vietnam. It was great, right? I think the first tour, so to say, kind of was the 2019 one in which was like 4 gigs in Mauritius and one in Madagascar. Uh, it was amazing. Very two drastically different places,
Yep, yep.
both Mauritius and Madagascar, and yeah, that was kind of really crazy.
Wow, man. Wow. Amazing. Like, do you remember closely that while you were touring, uh, you were like all of like musicians when they're touring, they have to take care of a lot of things like health. That's a prime factor there. You have to keep up your hands with your instruments, right? So
Right.
while you were touring outside, tell me the audience difference between an Indian audience and audience abroad. What's the major difference you found out? And that's a good question to
Man,
ask for a touring musician.
right, right. So in terms of taking care of things, there I think are so many of them, especially when you're touring, because it is hard. Touring life by no means is easy. Even if we play, let's say, 3 gigs a week in different cities, sometimes that is hard, yeah, because you end up like taking the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. flights, which means you will practically not sleep the night before. You'll get there, barely manage to get some sleep, and then the sound check is there, and again you're tired, and there's again a lot of waiting period, and then you have to play, and not just play, you
Climate
have to
change,
perform.
weather change, food habits, a
Yeah,
drastic change.
that as well. And then you have to perform, right? And every day you're not feeling the
That's the
same.
main thing.
You have to perform, whether you're feeling good, whether you're feeling down, whether you've not slept. And especially more for singers, because if you haven't slept well, your voice will not be with you.
Yeah.
You almost sometimes end up losing the top two notes of your range. And until then I was until the time I was just a guitar player, I was still okay with it. I had to play the guitar, was fine. When I started singing, I realized, holy shit, this is tough.
Have
Because
to constantly develop
if
a constant
yeah,
practice.
बिल्कुल, मतलब गला साथ नहीं देगा अगर आप अच्छे से सोए नहीं हो. And finding sleep is very awkward because flight times, time spent at the airport, so it is kind of difficult. um, I'm still in awe and still wonder how a lot of bands who tour like 25, 26 days a
Yeah.
month, how do they do it? How do they do it? I am, there has to be like incredible amounts of discipline and preparation that goes into it. But generally, again, to answer your question, a lot of logistics to take care of, and the health being a big one. Um, yeah, I think करना ही पड़ता है यार, कोई option है नहीं. और अभी I've started learning that we now have a tour coming up. So we actually completed 10 years of Antariksh, and
Yes.
super
Yes.
happy that we're going on a 10 years celebration tour. So I have kind of just trying to get myself into that mode, doing a bit of workout and all of that. Okay, you get ready for the tour so that you don't fall sick on the tour. So I saw Kiko, right? Kiko Lorero from
Oh man,
Megadeth.
he's also phenomenal guitar.
What a guitar player, right? And I remember seeing his post a few days back that they were preparing for a tour, and tour se 2 mahine pehle he started working out and he started preparing for the tour, so that he's fit, and so that was really inspiring. And I guess that's how all these big bands who tour like 25, 26 cities in a month do it. Uh, Sorry, that was the first part of your question. I missed the second part. What was that?
What was the audience difference in the
Oh yes, oh yes.
abroad and India?
So, for us, it's been kind of funny that Mauritius actually has a lot of Indian people.
Wow.
And people of Indian origin is what I mean. So when we went to Mauritius, it was a very funny experience. Huma jaake, I would ask a question in English and they would respond in Hindi. And I was like, what the hell? So मेरे को लगा अच्छा चलो maybe they see that probably I'm Indian, and then this happened 3-4 times. And then I asked someone, Kiar, why does everyone speak Hindi? The cab drivers were playing Bollywood songs.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I actually got to know about it, that, there are a lot of people in Mauritius from the Indian origin, and they understand Hindi, and, Mauritius has tons of people who kind of listen to Bollywood music and all that. So for us, it was almost playing to an Indian audience.
घर लग रहा था वो.
बिल्कुल घर लग रहा था. We in fact ended up playing a bunch of covers as well for them, and they were they were really happy. And again, in Madagascar, we were anyway playing for an Indian community in Madagascar. So to be fair, we haven't played to a completely foreign audience. We mostly played for Indian audiences in different countries so far. So
that's been a wonderful experience altogether.
It has been, for sure. And I also look forward to, after Quest especially, a lot of people in different countries have been asking us that, when are you coming to UK? When are you coming to, Brazil? And, somewhere in Finland? Because that song kind of did really well internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And which, to our surprise, because it's a song in Hindi. And, we never thought
getting attraction to that level is like,
right, even possible. But luckily, it made to a couple of international playlists on Spotify.
Yeah.
And because of which it got discovered in all these different countries. So, a lot of people ask us, when are you coming to this? We're like, we don't know yet, but inshallah.
But we'll come.
Hopefully soon. So that's, I really look forward to that when you play to a completely foreign audience sometime. That'll be fun.
Wow, beautiful, man, beautiful. So you have learned a bit more while touring than while recording songs, like in the learning zone, right?
I wouldn't say so. I think there's different kinds of learning in every different thing, right? While recording and probably production, mixing, and all of those things, I'm here sitting here in my studio, pretty much. All day into my computer and learning different plugins and different VSTs and just, experimenting with a lot of those things. So that a very different kind of learning happens, while you're recording, mixing. While on tour, a very different kind of learning happens. Yeah.
Well.
That's how I think of it.
Beautiful. Talk about or tell your insights or views on this term, music industry.
I think it's probably one of the best times to be a musician in India, is what I would say. At least, from the time I've spent in the music scenario in India, which has been about, I'd say about 15, 16 years. In the first, 5-6 years, I remember there being a very small scene, quote unquote. And it was mostly English rock, blues, metal bands. 2010 onwards is at least, when I saw that the overall industry has grown quite a lot. People have become more accepting towards more experimental styles of music. There are various styles, and every place, every I would say style, every genre has an audience.
A diverse agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, overall, बहुत ज़्यादा gigs होने लग गए हैं. All sides have grown. There, a lot of commercial music is also happening. A lot of commercial events are happening. A lot of indie events are now also happening.
Yes,
so in general, I feel that the industry has grown quite a lot, and it has kind of provided opportunities for a lot of musicians to take this up full time. 10-12 साल पहले थोड़ा ज़्यादा मुश्किल था. Abhi, there are multiple opportunities. You could be a great session player and you'll have opportunities to play with multiple artists. You could obviously be an artist yourself and try and find your way. You could be a mixing engineer, recording engineer, and there is possibility and potential of you getting a lot of work. So, I mean, obviously, if you're good, but generally, I think the industry has grown quite a lot. And at least the forecast is that it'll continue to grow for a good long time, and obviously get more and more organized in the next few years.
Any tips and advices for two things? Number one, musicians and artists, or any creative person who's starting out on a creative venture themselves. Any advice for them? And the second part of the question would be, any advice for artists and musicians who have been doing things for a while?
Yeah, I mean, for someone just starting out, I would say that, know that it's a long, it's going to be a long journey. It might take a good long time for things to work out. I mean, obviously, unless you get lucky or you're probably a genius.
Or you have
It
big
will
pockets?
Probably. I mean, yeah, maybe, but it usually does take a good long time, only because for you to understand the industry itself, it takes a while.
Yes.
To understand how it functions, what all
To crack
aspects
the
are
code.
there. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, वो maturity आते आते समझ आते आते समय लग ही जाता है. And for people who've been doing this for a while and are still on the path, I would say that patience and persistence and focus are kind of the key, right? Every day, there's failure that one encounters. It's not as if every day is rosy. But वही होता है ना, you 10 times you'll encounter failure and then there'll be one success and that'll cover up for all of it. So at least what I feel that just kind of having that perspective, that patience and persistence, just keeping at one thing for a long enough time helps you build that brand. It kind of helps you get there. That's what I feel. Yeah, I mean, in fact, yesterday only I was discussing about this with someone that I was reading I think Toto's Wikipedia page at one point in time, and that really inspired me. They were active, I think, since the late 70s, and they had, like, I don't know, probably 20, 30 lineup changes over the next 10, 15 years. And the guy like Steve Lukather and all these guys just kept on persisting, and it takes many, many years for you to actually get there. Even a band like Dream Theater probably would take, like, I think
13 to 15 years.
If not that, but at least 8-10 years to break out. Like, imagine people of that skill level at that point still taking that long. और हम लोग 1-2 साल करके ऐसा लगता है कि यार हो नहीं रहा,
छोड़ दे इसको.
हाँ, तो it was like a learning for my own self. Like, I also get really desperate at times कि यार क्या नहीं हो रहा, क्यों नहीं हो रहा, why is this not like becoming bigger, faster, and all of those things. But then that's सब अभी चाहिए ना. फिर थोड़ा learning होता है कि यार चलो यार कोई नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं है, समय लगता है. And then you kind of reflect कि and it's a long career, right? Like, let's say a band like Dream Theater, they've been around for what, 37 years? 37 years now.
Even Metallica, so, they have been for
like Metallica, 60 years. Iron Maiden, right? पता नहीं कब से लगे हुए हैं वो लोग. तो शुरू के 5-10 साल तो फिर बहुत छोटा पीरियड हो जाता है ना, because अगर 5-10 साल बाद आप जाके if you make it big enough, then you have another 30 years of
enjoying
30, whatever many years of career left to accelerate and grow bigger and fulfill all your dreams. So just I would, to anyone, I would just kind of recommend thinking about this and having that perspective that if you're trying to build something and you're genuinely passionate about it, so think through it for a long term. Yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Well, probably with that, I'll set you free and we come to an end. I guess for the audience, I'm saying this man doesn't need an introduction. I'll keep all of the links, whatever he has, and also he's coming to Calcutta, the city of joy, for the tour. I'll leave the ticket, the links of the ticket, and all of that in the description. Please do check it out. And I would again like to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining, taking some time out.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was
Thank you
great
so
fun.
much. Thank you so much. See you soon in the live gig, man.
Cheers, man. See you on the
Cheers.
16th.
Yep.
In
Yep.
Kolkata.
Thank you so much and take care. Bye bye. Keep building.
Bye.
Keep doing music, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All
Bye
the
bye.
best.